we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. I think we're waiting for one more panelist. But while we're waiting, if folks can find the chat function, if you want to go ahead and say hi, if you can say a greeting in your language, I always love to see that as we get started here. Let us know where you're joining us from. My name is Daniel Silve. I am the scholarships manager at the American Indian College Fund. There's Isaac. And I'm here in Aurora, Colorado, and I'm really glad for you all to be with us. Hey, Isaac, we're just getting started. Just ask people to find the chat there and go ahead and introduce themselves. Let us know where people are joining us from. Also, as we go through our presentation, if you have any questions about our scholarship application process, you can ask those in the chat. My colleague Mandy, our scholarships coordinator, is going to be in the chat asking any or answering any of those questions about scholarship applications, eligibility, that type of questions. If you have any questions specific to our panel, which is made up of current scholars and application reviewers, put those in the chat as well, and we'll bring those up in our discussion here. So, yeah, this is always my favorite webinar. We do a series of webinars throughout our application period, but this is a great opportunity to get some other perspectives on how you might approach your scholarship application. You know, having two folks who have gone through our scholarship application process and were successful in being awarded a scholarship, and then two of our reviewers who are the ones that actually read your application and score it. And so we have some questions for them in just a little bit. But before we do that, I just wanted to share a little bit about the scholarship opportunities and give the context around what happens after you apply. Um, so, are you seeing my screen? Are you seeing our presentation here?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Awesome.
can see
Perfect.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So, call it, excuse me, American Indian College Fund. This year, we have awarded over $20 million to more than 6,000 students. That number increases year by year. So, we are always expanding the opportunities we have for Native students to pay for college. And so, we look forward to continued growth in the amount and number of students that we can award. There's a little bit about the eligibility criteria, but I wanted to talk about what happens after you apply. Your application is scored by three members of our reviewer panel. Those scores are averaged to kind of, get a input from three different reviewers, average those scores, and then that score is what we use in awarding. So for each of our scholarship programs, we filter all the applications we received by the eligibility criteria. We sort those by the highest score, and then we just award from the highest scores on down until we fill out that program, moving on to the next scholarship program. What you see here is the base criteria of our scholarship programs. Different programs have different criteria, but that's the base. So if you meet these eligibility criteria, go ahead and apply with us, and we match you to every scholarship application or every scholarship opportunity in our portfolio that you match with. And so I wanted to give that context just so who we're talking to here and what the role of our reviewers are. These are the folks that are they are professionals outside of the college fund. We bring them, they volunteer to work with us between February and usually into early June, scoring all the applications we get in and help us out in that way. So let's go ahead and meet our panelists here. First with our two scholars. First up, Joseph Morales. Joseph is a BA student in English at Arizona State University, representing the Thanaatham Nation of Arizona. He is also serving as one of this year's College Fund Student Ambassadors. And Joseph, if you can correct my pronunciation of Thana Atom Nation. I've been working on my pronunciation. I don't know if I have it quite right just yet, so please let me know in just a minute here. And then next up, Major Elliott. Major is a proud member of the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead Aquina on Martha's Vineyard. He graduated from Georgetown University in 2025 and is currently completing his master's degree in biophysics and physiology at Georgetown, which he'll finish this June. Following this, he plans to apply to medical school as he continues his path toward becoming a physician. Major currently lives in New Jersey, where he works as an EMT, gaining hands-on experience in patient care and serving his community. Thanks for being here, Major. Moving on to our application reviewers, Patty Focci. Patty has been involved in education since 1973. She has taught for Jefferson County Schools, University of Phoenix, University of Denver, Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. Patty has mentored multiple student teachers and currently works with Colorado Youth for a Change Reading Corps. And I'm pretty sure Patty is our longest serving reviewer, having read with us since the old paper and pen days back in the late 1900s with us. So thank you, Patty, for your years of service and getting to know the students that we serve. Last but not least is Isaac Moore. Isaac is a member of the Northern Cheyenne Nation of Montana, where he was born and raised. He has a background in education and history, including a Master of Education from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Isaac has worked in higher education for over 10 years and is dedicated to supporting Native and Indigenous students' success in furthering their education. Currently, Isaac serves as the Associate Director of Admissions at Columbia University's School of International and Public Affairs in New York City. So thank you all so much for being here. All right, let's get into. We have some prepared questions, but but again, if you have questions for our panelists, feel free to drop those there in the chat, and we'll do our best to bring those up to our panelists. But I wanted to start out with the part of our application that makes up the largest percentage of the student's overall score. And those are the three reflection questions. So as you're going through your application, you'll find these questions asking about the challenges you've overcome to attend college, what are your educational career goals, and how will you use your education to impact your community, your nation, or Indian country more broadly. And each of those questions, you can score up to 20 points. So that's, 60 overall points out of 100. Obviously, that's going to be the biggest part of your score. So I had a question for our current scholars. I'll start with you, Joseph. And if you guys have, I should say, if you have additional introduction ways that you introduce yourself, feel free to do that too before you answer your first question for any of you. But let's start with Joseph. And how did you approach those reflection questions in the application?
Of course, and first, perfect execution on the thought of the
Oh,
nation. I was listening, I was like, let's see if he perfect execution. My approach to the questions and the strategy I use is opening like a Word doc or a Google Doc and copying paste the question because there's no time limit on doing this application. You could do it at your own time, your own pace, and even save the draft. So I would copy and paste a question in a separate document and kind of build a rough draft to the different prompts because I believe there is a word limit, but in making a draft outline, you could pretty much type out as much as you want and then slowly go back in and edit things, cut things out, and really cater it to who you are and what you want to showcase in your application and use your voice. So that was my approach in going through the different questions on the application.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there is a 300 word limit. So you really, we always encourage people to really use as much of that 300 words. It's not a lot, and you want to pack in as much as you can in that those 300 words. So that's a good point to bring up. Major, anything you would add in terms of how you approached those prompts?
I mean, to go off what Joseph said there at the end, I would just focus on being yourself. I mean, I would do a lot of reflection on who you are as a person. And I know some of the questions, they ask you like, what do you want to do? Where you want to go? And I know like focusing on who you are at this moment it might seem counterintuitive, but I think like making it shine through your application of like, hey, like this is who I am and this is why I'm unique. Because anyone can kind of say like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, but it really is, it's only you who can really say like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm about, and this is kind of my future, and this is how I see it. So I think if you take the time to really think about it, everything else will kind of just fall into place.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I noticed that you both of you know mentioned taking your time with it. Don't rush through things. Think through, yeah, reflect on where you've come from, where you're heading, where you are right now. And so that means for those listening, don't wait until the last minute. Give yourself time. Start now thinking about these answers and writing them out. Give yourself time to edit those questions because the I think last year we got about half of all of our applications, so it's about 5,000 applications in the last 2 weeks of May, before that May 31st deadline. And so, if you're doing it last minute, it's really hard to take the time that is required to reflect on where you are, and really, craft those 300 words, which is limiting. So yeah, with that in mind, let's bring in our application reviewers and ask, Patty, when you're reviewing uh, applications, what are some of the things that you're looking for and that stand out to you as you're looking at reading through those reflection questions?
Exactly what these two young gentlemen said. I think number one, I'm looking for authenticity using their own voice. And that's easy to pick up in comparison to using AI, but I'll get there in a minute. Um, Use your voice, be authentic. And then I also look for what the questions are. What was your experience? And then the second question is, what are your plans? I look for the second piece of that. How? Tell me how you're going to bring all of those wonderful plans to fruition. And then the third question, how are you going to give back to your community? Sometimes when I'm reading, the words are the word help, the word I will help them. That's not specific enough. I want to know, well, what does help look like for you using your education? What is that help going to be? Be more specific about what that is. And you don't have to use a whole lot of words. Um, be specific, be authentic, use your voice. And that's what I look for all the way through. And I would like to just throw this in there. If you are so inclined and it's like the dangling of the carrot, I should use AI. My suggestion would be, okay, use it as a tool and only a tool because AI will write your essay beautifully, but you need to reread it and make it yours. Take what AI has said grammatically and in the form, etc., but use it as a tool and bring your voice. Make it authentic to you so you can use all kinds of different tools to help shape your words, but always, always be authentic and using your voice. And that's definitely what I look for.
Yeah, Major, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, can I just add something at the end? The AI, it will not write your essay beautifully. It'll make it really bad. It'll be, and they can tell immediately. Everyone can tell it's not. I mean, unless you're running it through like three, four, five, six times, even at that point, I mean, you might as well just write your essay at that point. I mean, the effort spent will be. I mean, so that's just my 2 cents. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, what we've heard from all reviewers is that authenticity, which you'll probably hear, brought up again and again in this process. And AI cannot write your authentic story the way you can. So that's what we always tell, we tell students. Um, Isaac, what else kind of comes up for you when thinking about things that you're looking for when you're reading through these scholarship applications?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Also, just like thank you to all the other reviewers who are on the call. Like, I really appreciate us all connecting and everyone who's applying to this wonderful program. It's fabulous. So I just have a couple of, I guess, kind of like reminders. One thing that I would suggest, especially because I have experience reading admissions and like I've been doing admissions for a number of years, is for the people who are applying for the scholarship, definitely, as you're working through the application and especially the essays, those are really important. Those are the most important parts of the application because we want to hear from you directly. And one thing that I will say is, make sure that you're answering the question fully. So my advice is to like once you like write down your thoughts and your responses to the questions, go back and just like take a moment to reflect and make sure that you're answering the question very fully, right? It's like, did you answer the question that they are asking for? Just make sure that you're hitting those spots, right? Because that's important. That's something I look for personally when I review the applications. Just like I know it's hard. I know like it's busy, it's crazy, right? But I just want to make sure like you were mm, getting those questions responded to. And then another thing that I will add is, especially for our indigenous students who are on reservations, I grew up on a reservation. I'm very proud of that fact myself. Um, don't be scared of sharing what you've done, what you've learned in your communities. Like please share that with us as well, whether that's supporting elders or engaging in your like language revitalization programs, excuse me, or anything else. I love to see when students are really supporting their native communities. That's really important. And it may seem like something that's not important on the application, but that is. It really is, Like maybe you didn't get like into the National Historical Society, but maybe you supported your community in another way. So just share, definitely share what you've been doing. I love reading applications where people share the things they've been doing. Those are so important, and like exactly. I just want to say, like, please, please, please share. The more that you share with us, the more you help us realize how much involved you are. And I personally, like, I read everything and I'm just like amazed at everything everyone's doing. So I just want to say, like, please keep sharing everything you're doing. Even if you think it doesn't matter, it does matter. It definitely does matter.
And it
So.
does
Yeah.
when you write it in your essay portion, when we get down into the activities section, extracurricular activities, if some students say they don't list anything, well, if it's in your essay, I did this and I did this, I did this, I remember that, and then I will score that in that section that says the activities, because indeed that fits there. And also in the, don't forget, if you've got some undergrad degrees or an AA or a CNA, that's an honor to have received that degree. Make sure that that is also shows, it also shows up in the honor section. I will look very closely at your essay, but it also helps a lot if it's also listed in the honor section. So I go back and forth to try to find, oh, this, they mentioned that in their essay, so I'm going to apply it in this section. And I'm hoping that that helps. So tell us, tell us, because we look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to jump in here one more second. So sorry. Just agreeing with Patty is the fact that I feel like a lot of our students are coming from indigenous communities, reservations, where maybe they feel like their activities are not like worthwhile or not important. But I encourage you all, please tell us what you're doing because that's important. And personally, like we love to see that. Whether that's like helping, elders or you're involved in your cultural festivities, we love to see that. That's important. That's amazing. And like, please share that with us. Please don't be shy about that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Patty and Isaac, for bringing those things up because I think a lot of our students don't really recognize that like that's just responsibility that you have to your family like or even as a if you're a parent and you're like well I can't do any extracurricular activities because I'm taking care of my children. That is your role and that is the service that you're providing and that's a really important and crucial role in our communities. So include that, include elder care, child care, anything you're doing in your community. That's those are the things that our reviewers are looking for so many times. I think Patty mentioned that, it'll say, in their extracurriculars, it'll say nothing, there's nothing there. But then she'll read it in the essays and say, no, you're involved in a lot of things. But just know that our reviewers value those things. And that's part of, in our process, those are things that are of value. So include those. Um, yeah, that's a question for our current scholars. When you got to the extracurriculars and the honors and distinctions, how did you think about those, and what kind of things did you include in those sections? Why don't we go with Joseph and then Major.
Yeah, when I reached that extracurricular activities and honors and distinctions, that was a big challenge in the application for me because much like Patty and Isaac stated, you that's where you could really share pretty much anything you wanted. And I struggled because I thought, should I share this or, should I put on my application or not? I ultimately did, but as far as what I put on there is being culturally engaged, attending dances or ceremonies, attending basketball youth clinics, being in charge of those basketball youth clinics at one of the service centers on my reservation. So, and even when you get to that portion, it does include a prompt of it says culture, traditional, faith-based. So that kind of helped me think about, well, I did this and it falls into faith-based or traditional. So that helps you. And just like both Patty and Isaac said, share as much as you can in that portion, elder care, child care, because that shows that you're engaged in your community and you're doing your part.
Yeah, great.
Um, I think I might have actually had an opposite problem with compared to like Joseph and what Patty and Isaac were talking about. Because I think because I live in New Jersey, my tribe is in Martha's Vineyard, and if you guys are not familiar with like the geography, it's like a 5.5 hour drive plus a boat ride through the ocean, which is crazy. So I've always kind of found myself a little disconnected from my community. So I felt my extracurriculars actually held less weight because they were less involved. Like I was afraid I wouldn't even show enough community engagement for you guys to show to see that I'm, a part of my tribe. I thought it wouldn't show up. So I guess I kind of find myself in that boat, and I had to, I think, just focus on showing how much I was engaged in the things that I was doing. So, I mean, at the time, I think I applied, I was a freshman in college or going into college, so I had just finished. I mean, I was a cashier at a BJ's, which is like a Costco, which is kind of like worse. I was a lifeguard, which is, it was fun. But I showed that I was engaged with it, I think, and I think that went a long way. As for other stuff, I mean, I tried during high school. I volunteered a lot at a soup kitchen near my high school, and I think that was pretty impactful to me, just being a part of my community, like in a way just I had never seen up until that point. So I think, I mean, if you guys are struggling with filling out that role, I mean, you do have time. And there are always people in need in your community around you. You could always fill it up that way. You can always find time to help, and I'm sure it would benefit a lot of people if you did.
And if you write just the words volunteer soup kitchen, there's a place where you can define what that exactly means. And I will go into that so that I get more detailed description as to what that entailed. So the more words you can use, the more information I'm given and the clearer picture I get as to who you are as a person. So don't just leave it sketchy. Again, be authentic and use your words and add. Tell me, tell me who you are. I want to be in your presence at that time as if we were having a conversation. So the more, the better.
Yeah, and I'll just jump back in. Sorry, everyone, I'm a loudmouth. But Patty, Major, you've all been like incredible. So just to like piggyback on what you've been saying is I think what makes a very strong application is someone who does give us that detail, right, about your community, about what you're doing, how you think you can support them. Um, I really encourage everyone on the call who's listening to, spend some time. We review these essays in depth, and we really want to hear from you. And nothing is off the table. Like please tell us exactly where you're from, what you're doing, and what you want to do. Like, because we would love to support you. So definitely answer the question, make sure it's answered. Um, and just like don't be afraid to like share with us who you are. I think the most powerful applications are from people who really understand who they are, what they're about, and what they want to do. And we love to hear that. Just like make sure that your connections to your community really come through because we love to see that. Yeah, I'll say that for now.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Course. I just saw a question that came in. Is there a place to submit our pictures from these activities? I wish there was. That well, I think would paint the picture so much more vividly, but you have to do that with, so you have to do that with your words, right? Really, but think about that. Think about like the specificity of an image like that and what that conveys, and then just think about how can you convey, something like that is really tangible for our reviewers, since we aren't able to um upload any pictures of it, but paint that picture and let folks know who you are and what you've been involved with. Um,
And
um,
Dan, that's
yeah.
perfect. When I'm teaching children and young adults how to write poetry, I say to them exactly what you just said. Paint a picture with your words, because that is what poetry is. And in this case, we'll throw in that word, we'll substitute essay for poetry, and that's exactly what it is. Paint us a picture with your words.
I think Major and Joseph, you both mentioned parts of the application that were, challenging in different ways. Were there other parts, or what were kind of the parts of the application that you found challenging and And how did you kind of approach that? Major?
Well, I mean, in the past, I've been told I am a flowery writer. I write too much. There's too much fluff, too much fat, whatever you want to call it. It's just like, I think I found myself struggling getting to the point a lot of times in stuff that I'm writing. And trying to be concise, especially given the word limit, was definitely a challenge, especially because it's like, you really want this money, you really want this opportunity. And it's hard to not try to be too much, to try to be like bare bones. So, I mean, I had to like just, and I think I wasn't good at this until maybe like last year writing other essays for college. And by then I was a senior, but like just like write exactly what you want to say. No synonyms, no metaphors, no flowery language, no nothing. Just write exactly what you want to say. Make sure you're saying what you need to say, and then add all the fun stuff in later. I think I think that's the best advice I can give you with this because I know that's something I struggle with. I mean, I still struggle with it. So.
Yeah. Joseph, what were some of the challenges that you ran into?
Kind of to piggyback off what Major said, I also tend to write a lot, like overshare, whatever the case may be, just because, in my study, often I'm writing long reports, so I'm used to just going into a Google Doc and just oversharing. So, yeah, that's definitely challenging, especially with the word limit. But I try to just focus on really sharing my voice and who I am in those reflection prompts. That really helped me find my message, what I wanted to share, who I am, what I want to do in my future for my career and academics. So that was kind of my approach to it and get over the challenge, and that helped me limit my, overwriting and fall into that word limit for the prompts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that word limit is one of those things that you want to be mindful of the totality of your answers, that you can build on the answers of the previous answer. You don't have to repeat anything from the previous answer to answer the next question. Just you're building on what you've shared in the last one and think through that. We do have some folks who don't don't get even near that word limit, that they'll write a few sentences, 2 or 3 sentences, and then move on to the next one. What I've found, what I've seen, and maybe Isaac or Patty can speak to this, is that those those answers that tend to be toward toward the word limit rather than leaving 100 words unsaid, are the ones that tend to score a little bit better because they give a better sense of who you are. And actually, I'll just share that I was looking at this a particular application, that was awarded a scholarship and scored really well. And I was just kind of looking, trying to dissect it and looking at it. And I looked at each of their reflection questions. All of them were exactly 300 words, meaning that person really put in time, like making sure every word counts. You don't necessarily need to go into that level of dissecting your writing to make it exactly 300 words, but you definitely want to be toward that end where you're really utilizing the word limit there. Anything you'd add to that, Patty or Isaac?
Well, I don't mind descriptive phrases. I think that when that adds some beauty in your writing. And again, if you're approaching the 300, um, that's okay. You don't do 1,000 words, but sometimes the descriptive phrasing gives me a little bit more view into your depth and what you're trying to say instead of just I did this, I did this, I did this, but you're describing to me how. And if you use, and I don't think it's necessarily flowery. It could be just descriptive, using a couple of really good adjectives in there that tells me more. I keep hearing us say, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And I think that's the big message here.
Yeah, so just to kind of jump in off of everything that's been said, I'll just like say that. So, for me, I think strong applications are from people who, again, I think I cannot stress this enough. Just please make sure that you're responding to the question and that you're answering it, right? Like please review your essay and be like, is this did I answer the question or not? I think that's really important. Like, just like from like fundamental thing. And then secondly, I will say, like, especially for our people who are coming from reservations who have access or don't have access to many things, it's, just like please tell us what you're doing, what you're involved in. I love to see that community effort, like what you're doing. I'm from a reservation myself from Montana, and I want to hear like how you've been supportive, what you've been doing, what's happening. And like, don't be scared to just like share what's going on. I think that's really important, you know? So I'll share that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. When you mentioned making sure you answer the question, I just wanted to drill down on that a little bit because I think that's really important. You're probably applying for hopefully many scholarships. Hopefully ours is just one of those. And you probably have some essays that you're using, you kind of have your stock of your answers. Make sure you're fitting those into the question that you're answering, right? So you'll have your stories or things that you want to share, the points you want to make. For each application, ours being one, please edit that, make sure it's answering the question and answer it fully. And I think, one thing Patty said about, the educational and career goals, not only what are they, but how are you going to achieve them? I always also say, why are they? Why are those your goals? Why is that important to you? Why is it important for you to, to get that degree or to, work in this field? I think, the reason for your goals is it can also be really enlightening in terms of your motivation. So those are a couple of things that came to mind based on the idea of answering the question fully. The other thing that sometimes we'll say is, think through, the beginning, middle, and end of this story, in terms of that first question where you're saying, talking about the challenges you've overcome to attend college. What were the challenges? How did you overcome them? And then what was the result? Kind of that, so people so that our readers can get the whole story there.
May I jump in?
Of
I was
course.
I have sticky notes all over. And because when something jumps out at me, this was an application probably 7 or so years ago. This young person was going into being a doctor. And this is what they said in their essay. Like a scalpel in the hands of a person, it can create disastrous things. But in the hand of a doctor, it can save lives. And I thought, okay, the picture is there. Anyone can hold a scalpel, but this young person knows they're going to be a doctor and they're going to use it for all these good things. So, yeah, flowery, maybe. Descriptive, yes. Okay, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So there's a balance to strike here in terms of how you want to use those 300 words to really give a picture of yourself and what that looks like. If you're somebody who is more descriptive in your language, or somebody who really just has a lot to say in terms of what your goals are, really, it's your opportunity to tell our reviewers about who you are. And just again, going back to that the idea of authenticity is really what I hear over and over and over again from, we've done these panels in the past, and that's the word that really I think I've heard both from reviewers and from our scholars, is that authenticity is really what they're looking for. And that means, students that are maybe, on reservations and serving their communities in ways that might not be, obviously something that you would put on your application. And it might mean somebody who's far away from their community and has to find other ways to be of service to the people that they're with, right? So that just, Patty also mentioned specificity, around what it is that you're doing, what it is that you want to do. If you have very specific goals, I think that helps kind of clarify in the minds of our reviewers what you're about. Um, so those are other things that I've kind of heard from reviewers over the years. Um, there was another question here. What areas in the application are most impactful during the review process? I think we've talked a lot about that. Patty or Isaac, is there anything else that comes to mind in terms of things that are impactful in the application beyond what we've mentioned so far?
Yeah, I'll just jump in again. I can't reiterate enough what Patty and Daniel and Major and Joseph have said again. And I feel like, this scholarship program is supporting Native and Indigenous students. So we really want to hear about your backgrounds. But I don't want that to scare you. Like, right? Like, this is supposed to be a very welcoming experience, you know? We want to hear from you just about your experience. So please do not be scared to share that. Like as Indigenous people, we're often frightened, maybe scared to share about our background. So for everyone on the call, just please, know that we are trusting you and we are here for you to hear about your backgrounds. But just to answer your question, Daniel, I just can't reiterate enough about the fact that, just like please make sure that you're answering the question fully. Just like respond to the question fully. I feel like that's a very kind of like basic thing, but with any anything that happens, it's just like make sure you like it's responded to fully, like because that's going to help you. Um, yeah, I feel like yeah, I'll stop there. I'll give it to like Patty and Major and Joseph.
Something that doesn't always sit well with me in the first section. Yes, indeed, we want to know where you come from and what you have overcome. But if I'm reading in an essay that's the only focus, instead of telling me this is how I overcame that hardship, this is my plan, this is how I moved through that. If they leave me with just staying there, kind of like it feels like I'm just complaining about that situation instead of finding a light and a movement out of it. So I'm looking for movement out of it and movement forward through. So
Mm.
again, that would be Isaac answering that question fully instead of just half. This is what I went through and it was terrible, but this is what I experienced. It was unpleasant, da 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 da. And this is how it has changed my life and how I've moved through it. So that's also what I look for a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Patty. That's a really great response. I totally appreciate and love that. And yeah, I just want to say like, like as people who've been through like traumatic things, like, just don't feel like that you're scared about sharing with us because we understand that. Like we are coming through with you on this period of your journey. So we respect that absolutely. Like, please, like, I mean, you don't need to like share the trauma and the drama, but like, like we are people who have dealt with native trauma and we want to like help you. Absolutely. Like we are there for you 100%.
Yeah. One thing that was not in our questions here, but something that has come up in the past is this idea of, you know, trying to reconcile the cultural value that, a lot of us hold of being humble and moving through life with a sense of humility, but then also being asked to kind of, talk about your accomplishments and talk about the things that you've done. How did you approach that in your application, major and Joseph? Did that come up for you at all, or was that not really a struggle for you?
Um, to speak on that, I would say a little bit of a challenge for me because again, it is one thing to be prideful in stating what you've done or what you want to accomplish, but also, just for me not wanting to come off arrogant or conceited, like make it about me. But also at the same time, you have to understand that, like a job interview or this application, this is where you get to talk about yourself and kind of state like, yeah, you did all these accomplishments because it is something you should be prideful. So just, you know, don't worry about it so much, thinking you're arrogant or you're conceited, just talking about yourself. It's important to express, the accomplishments you've done, what you want to do, and just being comfortable in doing that.
Well
Yeah,
said.
for me it was hard. It was hard to just acknowledge that I have accomplished because I think it's just I put so much pressure on myself at this stage in my life to be like, you haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. You're not where you want to be. You don't have as much money as you want. You don't have the whatever status, whatever. You don't have that yet. So what does this matter? So it was so difficult to sit down and to actually look at what I've done in my life and to be like, wow, this is incredible. And to actually give myself grace for the first time that I have not, I'm really bad with that and doing that. And I think stuff like in applying for scholarships like this, it's so, I mean, that's why I love the college fund. I mean, and being an ambassador just kind of magnified that like tenfold, just being able to sit with like, wow, I have done so much. Because I think I go throughout life and I'm just like, I'm not where I want to be, but I think I'm exactly where I need to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah,
And
thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think, for a lot of us, we don't want the focus to be on, on our accomplishments as much as, I think if you kind of reframe that to, you know, the ways that you have been in service to your community and the things that you're accomplishing, as a responsibility, because you have abilities and you have skills and you have gifts and you have, things that were put into you for a reason that you have a responsibility for. So now you're just saying, I've been responsible. This is the ways that I've been responsible with these things, these interests. That's, sometimes reframing it in that way might be helpful, for students that, are trying to figure out how to do that in a way that aligns with their values.
Yeah, and if I can just like cut in very quickly, Daniel, thank you
Yep.
so much for all of this, and especially for my applicants who, are coming here on reservations. Like, please share with us what you're doing. Whether you're working a full-time job or helping elders in your community or whatever that you're doing, please, right, know that that's a worthy, something that you're doing because the application may say like, what is it that you're doing? And you may be like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything to respond to. You do, especially like if you're like helping the community. Please share that with us. I'm just going to say that. Please share. That's important. And we love to hear that. Like, whatever support of the community that you are doing, please share that with us. That's great. We love it.
sometimes I hear the word is written in the essays. They they say I feel like I have an impostor syndrome, and
Imposter syndrome. Yep.
yes, and I would like to
Yes.
climb into that essay and say no. you're not an imposter. You are you. And then the other piece of that is don't make comparisons. You are your own gift yourself. Don't compare who you are, what you are, where you want to go with anyone else or an ideal that you have set for yourself. It's a movement, it's one step after the other, in front of the other. Keep moving forward, keep moving forward. You are not an imposter. You're in your own skin, you're in your own head, you're in your own heart. And don't compare that to anyone else. And I think if we could separate from that and just be in that presence of our own being, then I think that would help. And that's a tough place to get in our head because the majority of us think, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve this scholarship. I don't deserve that job. I don't deserve what, but yes, you do. And you can tell us that you do. And again, those words arrogant versus having pride in who you are, they are two opposite ends of the spectrum. And if someone is writing an essay that is very arrogant, that's easily picked up on. But if someone is saying, I am, that comes through.
Exactly. I will 100% agree with you, Patty. You've nailed the hit on the head. Yeah, incredible. I just want to say, like, please share with us. The more that you can share with us, the more that it is like helpful. It's really great. And especially like, for all of you out there who think this is not possible, it is possible. It's definitely possible. Just share, please, please do share with us.
Yeah, great. So we're coming to the end of our time here. What advice from any of our panel, what advice would you give to a prospective applicant who's looking at the application? What's your words of advice that you would share with them?
I'll just like go because I've been like really wordy tonight. So sorry. So like so just make sure that you like promptly respond to the questions. Like make sure that you're answering them fully. Like seriously, like so like when you're filling out the application, it's a lot. We gotta, but like when you are doing it, take a moment to step back and be like, hey, did I respond to this question fully? Is it fully answered? Did I like write to them fully what they want? So that's my first piece of advice. Just like make sure that you respond like fully, because I mean that's really real. To be honest, it's very real.
Any other words of advice, Major, Joseph, Patty?
Yeah, I guess, I was actually given advice not too long ago, because I've kind of found myself at a weird place in my journey because I'm transitioning to like the next step, with medical school and everything, and it's so hard. Um, but I was told to be the architect of your own future. And it's kind of broad and it's kind of corny, but it's like it applies to everything. It applies to this, it applies to life, it applies to relationships, it applies to everything. I mean, you guys have all the power to make your life what you want to make it. And if you want this scholarship, it'll come through. It doesn't matter if you're an expert writer or you're super accomplished or you're credentialed or whatever. None of that matters. What matters is you, and it matters how much you want it and what you want. And if you can make that come through, I think you will get what you want out of this, out of life, out of anything. So,
Yeah,
Thank you,
nice.
Major. That was beautiful.
Anything else, Joseph or
Um,
Patty?
yeah, some advice I'd say that kind of goes with what Major said is be yourself, be who you are, be authentic to you. Because when I first did the application, I think I just graduated high school and I thought I didn't have enough to respond to those prompts on and even extra activities or honors and distinctions, but I just answered them the best I could for who I am, my voice, what I want to accomplish in my journey. And knowing the college fund, they're super supportive and that's what they're looking for. So, be comfortable and just sharing who you are, what your journey is, what's the story you want to tell. And much like Major said, that, the scholarship will find you and you'll be able to get selected.
Yeah, and so I'm so sorry. Like I my my webcam is being very weird right now. Sorry. But I'll just say like I'm really reiterating everything that the other panelists have said. And I want to say like it's really important, like I will not stress this enough for all my applicants who are coming from Native communities, please share with us what you've been doing. We love to see that, just please, whether that's you're working and you're sharing and you're doing this, whatever, it matters. It all does matter. I,
Yes.
I, I feel like they're often overlooked, that demographic. They need to learn that it's fine. Right. It's fine.
Yes. Any last words, Patty? Any last words of advice?
I think we've pretty much covered it. Use your voice, be authentic, follow through with what you dream and put it on paper and it will come through. And tell us, sing your own praises. That is
Mm,
okay to do. You can be proud, not arrogant, proud, and let us know that.
Yes,
beautiful.
Patty. That's great.
Yes. Perfect
Yes.
summation. Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us. I hope everybody on this call doesn't list nothing to report for your extracurriculars and honors and distinctions. Know that you've been doing something. Let our reviewers know about it. And if you've really been doing nothing, you have a couple months to get doing something and have something to report to us. Um, if you run
Right.
into,
Yeah.
you run
Yeah.
into any questions, give us a call. There's our 800 number. Email us at scholarships@collegefund.org. Apply by May 31st. The application remains open after that, but it doesn't get scored. And so, I explained how we choose the top scores. Your application, if you apply after May 31st, it's essentially, goes to the bottom unless you fulfill some very specific criteria. If you apply after May 31st, you're not likely to be chosen for a scholarship. So we encourage you to apply by May 31st. Don't wait till May 31st. Give yourself that time we talked about earlier. That's really essential, and thinking through your answers and crafting them in a way that will really allow you to do your best in this process. So thank you all so much. Let us know if you have any questions. And thank you all so much for attending tonight, and we hope to hear from you soon.